Hello everyone, in this video I am going to explain about the differences between the photosynthesis and the respiration. In photosynthesis, it only occurs in the cell that contains the chlorophyll. That means it will only occurs in green plants that contains chlorophyll, a green pigment. And in the case of respiration, it occurs in all living cells. In all living cells, that means in animals also, in humans also, the respiration process will occur. Now in the second point says that in the photosynthesis, it occurs in the presence of light only. If photosynthesis requires the sunlight for the synthesis of food, but in the case of respiration, there is no need of, we can say, light, so it can occur all the time. If it is a daytime and if it is a night time, the respiration process will work all the time. But in the case of photosynthesis, it only occurs in the presence of light, that means the sunlight. Now third point says that in the photosynthesis, the plant basically manufactures the food. They make the food. But in the respiration, the process says that it breaks down the food molecules, that means the glucose molecules. Here the food referred as a glucose. So the breakdown of glucose helps in the process, and then body will gain the energy. But in the photosynthesis, the plants manufactures food for the growth of their cells. Now fourth point says that in the case of photosynthesis, it uses carbon dioxide and water for the photosynthesis. We have already seen the equation of photosynthesis, that it uses carbon dioxide and water for the photosynthesis process. But in the respiration case, it uses oxygen and glucose. Both are used and then breaks down into energy. Fifth point says that it liberates oxygen as one of the end product. We have seen in the photosynthesis that the end product is basically, in the case of plant it is oxygen, but in case of respiration the end product is carbon dioxide. That is not required, or that is enough for the body. So the carbon dioxide is released or may exhausted from the body as an end product. Now if you understand about the aspect of the respiration in plants, now we can figure out some differences between the respiration in plants and the respiration in animals. Now the differences between respiration in plants and respiration in animals. In respiration in plants, we have already seen that respiratory gases travel by the simple diffusion method. It means that if the plant body contains too much carbon dioxide, then it will move through stomata and then comes out to the atmosphere to maintain the concentration level. But in the case of respiration in animals, the respiratory gases are basically transported across the body through the blood cells. We have already seen in the heart, heart region, that oxygen carries through blood for the development of cells, as cells uses the oxygen. Second point says that in respiration in plants, basically the end product of anaerobic means that there is no need of oxygen, so here is absence of oxygen. End product of this anaerobic respiration includes the ethanol. If you talk about the respiration in plants, and if the respiration is occurring in anaerobic respiration, that means the oxygen is absence. In the absence of oxygen, then the end product will be ethanol. But in the case of animal, the end product of this anaerobic respiration will be lactic acid. So you have to remember this line, that in the case of respiration in plants, the end product of anaerobic respiration will be ethanol, and the end product of anaerobic respiration in the animals will be lactic acid. Now the third point says that lesser amount of heat is produced in the case of respiration in plants. Here the heat is basically, we can also refer it as energy. So in the plant case, lesser amount of energy is produced, but in the respiration in animals, more amount of heat, or we can say energy, is produced. If you try to understand in the case of respiration in plants, we will already seen that a plant doesn't move from one place to another by itself, so it doesn't require any large amount of energy to do so. But in the case of respiration in animals or human beings, we all need high amount or more amount of energy to move from one place to another. So respiration in plants, basically they do not require, or they basically produce lesser amount of heat. But in the case of animals or human beings, the energy is produced in large quantities. So this was about the difference between the photosynthesis and respiration. And then the differences between the respiration in plants and the animals. So we will meet in the next video. Till then, thanks for watching.